This is the Urinalysis Testing Lab. Please have your lab sheet available and follow along with me as I go through this. So in humans, urine is a fluid produced by the kidneys as they remove waste from the blood. This is a necessary process in order to prevent poisoning by our own waste products. Urine is made up of mostly water with some salts and organic materials dissolved in it. The amount of these substances often depends on the health, diet, and activity level of each individual. By testing the chemical composition of urine, doctors can learn much about the general health of an individual. Urinary tract infections, kidney malfunction, diabetes, and liver disease are just some of the medical problems that can be diagnosed through urinalysis. Okay, so the purpose is to test urine samples for traces of chemicals. The materials, we have our well plate, we have pH indicator paper right here, if I can get it into view. And we have urine samples with glucose, protein, and pH. We also have an unknown sample. And we have our burette and glucose test strips. Here is the burette. And here are the glucose test strips. Okay, for the procedure, part A, testing known samples. So number one, using a well plate, place approximately 5 drops of the urine with glucose into a well. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my pipettes and we're gonna get 5 drops. Into the well plate. And it says, test the glucose with the glucose test strip and record the results in the table below. Now on the glucose test strips, the instructions on the packaging are to dip the test strip into the test solution for 1 to 2 seconds, run test strip along the edge of the container to remove excess liquid, read against the color chart after 2 minutes for the urine test. Okay, so here is my test strip. You can see the little pad on the end. I'm going to place that in the urine for a couple of seconds, get the excess off, and we're just going to let it sit there for about 2 minutes. Okay, we can move on to procedure number 2 while we're waiting for that. It says place approximately 5 drops of urine with protein into another well. So I'm going to grab a fresh pipette. We're going to grab the protein sample, and we're going to use the next well in the plate. There we go. Okay, and it says to test it with burette and record the results in the table below. Now with the burette, we just need 1 drop of this, and then we kind of shake the well plate a little bit to see if there's any change. So here's my burette. We're adding 1 drop. We don't want to actually put the tip into the solution, and then we just kind of disturb this a little bit. Okay, now the thing here is that if we see the solution turn like a grayish purple, that means that protein is present. And if we don't, if the color just stays urine color, then there is no protein present. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't want to spill it, but it definitely is a kind of grayish, purplish tint to it. Okay, so you guys can go ahead and record your results in the table. Okay, so again, if you look at that part A observations, I guess it's not so much of a table, but it'll say protein urine. We tested that with the burette. Did the color of the urine change to purple gray? So in your results, you'd put yes. If so, there is protein present. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and look at this glucose. So here's our glucose test strip. We are going to compare that to this right here. Okay, so in your results table or in your results section, write down the one that you think it is. And as you can see, these are milligrams per deciliter. All right, number 3, place approximately 5 drops of acidic urine into a clean well. So I'm grabbing a clean pipette. We've got the acid, We have our 5 drops. And then it says to test it with pH paper and record the results in the table below. For the pH paper, we just want to get a little corner into the solution, and then we'll let it sit. And we'll kind of give that a minute or so to sit, and then we'll compare it against the chart. Okay, so if we keep going, for part B it says to test the unknown. Number 1 says test your unknown sample of urine to determine which of these substances is located in your urine sample, glucose, protein, acid, or a combination of these. So now we're going to place approximately 5 drops of urine in 3 different wells of your well plate. And then we're going to test each of the wells for the substances in part A and record the results below. So I'm going to grab a new pipette. Here is my unknown. We have unknown solution number 1. And we're going to put 5 drops in 3 different wells. There we go. Okay, now we need to test. A was glucose, so we're going to grab another glucose strip. Okay, here's our glucose strip. We'll place that in the solution, 2 seconds. Drip off the excess, and we'll let that sit. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to part A. Okay, we're going to look at the pH strip. Okay, so here is our strip. Whoops. And let me get what we are comparing it to. Here's our chart. And again, you're going to write your results in the table. Not really a table. You're going to write yours, and this is part A. Okay, this is part A, the very first part. So go back to your table or your information for part A and write down your pH that you think this is. Okay, going back to part B, we need to do the protein test, and that is where we test it with the burette. So here is our burette. We just need a drop. Do that a little better. We're still waiting for our glucose test. And again, this is part B, so this is our unknown. We're jumping around a little bit to kind of save time. Okay, so you guys can see that. Again, this is our part A. Okay, this is our part B. So this is the one that you want to look in. Let me see if I can get that a little bit more on top of it. Okay, so we're looking right here at this one. Again, this is our part A. This is our part B. Okay, did it turn purplish gray? Yes or no? What does that mean? And record your observations. Okay, let's take a look at our glucose strip. And again, this is part B. We're all done with part A. So this is our glucose strip for part B. Okay, we've let it sit for a couple of minutes. And you want to write down your results for part B. Okay, lastly in part B, we need to test the acid. So we're going to take our pH paper again. Right, here's a strip of it, and we're going to place the tip of it in the solution. And we're going to let that sit for a couple of minutes, and then we'll record our results. I'm going to leave it right here so that we don't get them confused. Okay, so make sure that you're writing down your observations, and then is the substance present? Yes or no, and then we can work through the analysis questions on your own. Okay, so let's give this pH paper another few seconds and we'll take a look at it, and then that'll be the data collection for this lab, and you guys can do the rest of it on your own. All right, so again, this is testing acidity with our pH paper. Pretty sure we're not going to choose any of those, so we'll go back up to these ones. Maybe get a little closer if we can. That's kind of tricky, huh? Alrighty, y'all, that is it for the urinalysis lab.